Well. College football fans, Clemson Tiger fans, welcome back to the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. I'm your host, Tiger Paul Craven, and we're coming at you on the bye week for Clemson. No games this week for Clemson. Clemson is on a bye, but we are still here to bring you another show, and we're calling it the Clemson Tigers Midseason Show. We're gonna talk about kind of the season as it's unfolded so far. We're gonna give out some mid-season awards. The panel's gonna come on. We're gonna talk some mid-season awards, both offense and defensive awards, coaching awards, all sorts of things like that. So get in on the comment section. Get your comments out. Let us know what you think about Clemson's season so far. Let us know what you think about our picks for the midseason awards. And then we'll talk about our outlook going forward for the rest of Clemson's season, for the remainder of the games that we have, and then into what we see Clemson doing this postseason, whether that be the ACC championship, a New Year's Six Bowl, or the college football playoffs. Whatever our panel sees, we'll get into all of that in this show. But before I bring on my co-host, if you are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. It really helps us out. We're really trying to grow this channel this season. We're really trying to put out some really good content for you this season. I think we have done a pretty good job this season of kind of talking Clemson football. And really, bringing some good content to you guys. Myself, Jordan Bowman, DeAndre, Smitty has been in here as well, and we've really tried to bang out some good content for you guys. So please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share the videos. Hitting the like button really helps us on our live streams, which is really what we do here on our on the Clemson channel as far as our panel goes. And then if you want to support the show monetarily, links in the description of this video. You can support it that way, or you can use the super chat feature at any point in time in this video, and we will read your comment out, and we also appreciate that support in that way as well. But without further ado, let's get into the show. Please hit that like button if you're in the comment section. If you're in the stream right now, please hit that like button for us. And I'm going to bring on my co-host. First and foremost, I got Jordan Bowman and I got DeAndre with me tonight. We will be doing the Clemson Tigers mid-season show, mid-season review, whatever you want to call it. Jordan, DeAndre, thanks for joining me tonight. How you guys doing?
Doing well, man. Feels good to be 8-0.
Right.
It's been a heck of a ride to get there. I wasn't here for the Syracuse post game. I went back and watched it, and you guys covered it really well. It's been, like I said, it's been a wild ride, but 8-0 is all you can ask for at this point in the year. College football playoff hopes are still alive. ACC championship is well within range and within sight. So you got to feel good.
Absolutely. This is where we wanted to be at this point in time in the season, right? 8-0. DeAndre, how you doing tonight, brother?
Man, I'm enjoying the game. I'm betting as usual. I got the over on this state Virginia Tech game. So
what was the over? What was the over under, real quick?
39. So I got it. So I'm happy.
39.
Yep.
They just
it already went over. You good to go?
It wasn't looking like it was going to in that first half.
Yeah, we were 3-0. That was a terrible first half.
Yeah, you good to go. It went over. So kind of the format for the show, for those of you in the chat, if you will, the format for the show is we're going to start out with kind of a recap of the season so far, and then we're going to go with our thoughts on the offense and defense. We're going to get into some mid-season awards for the panel here, and then we'll go with the outlook of the season as we see it going forward. So that's kind of how we'll deal with the show tonight. So real quick, let's recap the season so far. Clemson, like we already stated, is 8-0. You can't get any better than that. They have won every single game that they went out and played this season. That's exactly where we wanted to be. Now, has it looked exactly how we wanted it to look at all points in times this season? No, it has not. But what I will say about Clemson is they have won in a lot of different ways this season. They've leaned on the offense in some games. They've leaned on the defense in some games. They've won a lot of different ways. They've won throwing the ball. They've won running the ball. So I think they have proven to be a versatile team. They have proven to be a team that can win the close games. And that's kind of the marquee, thing for a good team and sometimes great teams when, they find a way to win the close games. And we've had a lot of close games this season. Wake Forest comes to mind with the double overtime, right? A big game against NC State in Clemson. This past weekend, Syracuse, we turned the ball over 4 times. We did not play well on offense at all. DJ had by far his worst performance this season, and we still found a way to win. The defense bowed up in the second half. They pitched a shutout, and Cade came in. He was kind of a game manager. Shipley and Maffa kind of did their thing in the second half and really took over the game. So Clemson has won in a lot of different ways this season. How do you guys feel about how Clemson has performed overall through these first 8 weeks of the season? Where do you guys see Clemson at? I know there's a lot of talk in the national media. Is Clemson a contender? Are they not? There's a lot of slander going around for Clemson because, at the end of the day, Clemson has performed at such a high level for, so long that, we're compared to some of the elites. So where do you guys see Clemson so far this season? How do you see the performance? And, we'll start there.
Yeah, well, I mean, you really did a good job of covering it. Yeah, I mean, really the most impressive thing about this team is just how versatile they've been. You said it. They've won a lot of games in a lot of different ways.
Right.
In some ways, there were some aspects of this team that we thought would be better that have not been up to this point, but have shown flashes. And I think that's kind of been the theme of this team so far. Is this team has really shown flashes of what it can be when everything is clicking on all cylinders. And you mentioned the national media types talking about whether Clemson's legit or not. From what I've seen, I think this team absolutely has the capability to make some noise in the postseason. But it all just depends on putting it all together. Entering that championship phase, as Dabo always says.
Absolutely,
that's going to be key, and we'll talk about it more when we talk about the outlook for the rest of the season. But this is kind of the time of year where that phase begins to show itself. So, but all in all, I think this is. Just after having gone through last season and the trials and tribulations and that this team went through last season, I can't be too upset with how they've played. They're 8-0.
Not at all.
Yeah, they're 8-0 against a schedule. Honestly, I would say this has been a tougher schedule than it was last year. In a lot of respect. At least the conference schedule. Obviously, not having to play Georgia week 1 is nice.
That's beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think as far as in the conference, I mean, the league has greatly improved, I think, in a lot of aspects, especially in the division. And I think this team has shown a lot of resiliency while they're still trying to while they were still trying to find themselves and put together that complete performance. So I'm there's like I said, there's a lot that needs to be fixed and a lot that's they still need to get better at. But I can't really complain with how they've played too much.
Yeah. DeAndre, what do you think of the season so far? What do you got for me?
I think we've been very impressive. I think people are too hard on DJ. 8-0 is very good. I think we play one of the hardest schedules in the league. I think Tennessee and TCU the only other teams to beat 3 or more ranked teams this year. Of course, Tennessee had a big win over Alabama. I mean, we have made strides. I mean, it hasn't been perfect. It hasn't been pretty, but at times, if we look at the year that Deshaun Watson had his year that we won a national championship, that year wasn't pretty. We struggled with Troy. I think we ended up winning the game, 19-13, and we had some weird games in there. NC State, I think they had a wide left versus us, and we ended up winning the game there. And Deshaun Watson threw an INT. So we have a short memory of bad games. Trevor Lawrence's sophomore year, I think we had some struggles. So we did a great job improving, and we're going to give DJ a chance to relax and get his mind right, and hopefully he comes out the year. I had never seen a Clemson quarterback as scrutinized as DJ has been over the last 2 years. And some of it was his fault last year, and a lot of it was play calling. A lot of it was what's called. And I'll be honest with you, I think the Syracuse games was play calling because I felt like if you would have, you had a 245 pound nose tackle in the middle who's a walk on, and you got a couple 4-stars in the middle, push that dude over, run the ball. So he made some bad decisions, but hey, it is what it is. You fail and you learn. And that's part of it. And I think some people need to lay off DJ and let him be human. It's football and we enjoy it, but give a young man a break and give praise him when he does good.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the things that I want to talk about before we move on to kind of preseason thoughts versus kind of what's happened so far is kind of the Clemson season so far. We got an 8-0 record, and that's great, right? That's exactly where we want to be. We can't be any better than 8-0, right? We played 8 games. We've won 8 games. And like I stated in the beginning, we've won them a myriad of different ways, right? It's not been the same way. We've proven that we can win several different ways, and I think that's a strength, right? That's a marquee for a good team, a really good team to a great team. And one of the things I want to talk about is kind of some of the slander out there for Clemson in the national media. I don't know what this narrative is out there about Clemson, about them not being contenders. Look, I'm not saying Clemson's perfect. I'm not saying they're a playoff team right now after week 8. I don't think Clemson's a playoff team after week 8. I think they have a lot of improvement to do, but I think they have shown in every aspect of the team that they could be a playoff team if they can put it all together. Now, that's yet to be seen whether they can put it all together, but they have shown the tools in every aspect of a team to be able to be a playoff contender, in my opinion. And you got the national media out there. I'm going to call him out because his take really pissed me off this past week when I watched it. Joe Klatt. I don't know if you guys watched Joe Klatt. Jordan, you know who Joe Klatt is, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I know exactly
and typically, I think he's a pretty level-headed guy. He typically has some pretty decent takes, in my opinion. But he really went off the rails with Clemson this past week, in my opinion. And he's talking about how I watched a video of his this past week when he's talking about how Clemson hasn't been tested and they won't be tested in the ACC until they get to the college football playoffs. And he's saying that Clemson will win the ACC and they will go to the college football playoffs, but they won't be tested up until. How are you saying that Clemson will not be tested in the ACC? We have 3 top 25 ranked wins right now. Current top 25 ranked teams that we have already beaten in North Carolina State, Wake Forest, and Syracuse. We also beat FSU that was ranked but is no longer ranked, right? And then
because they lost to the teams that we just mentioned.
Yeah,
they lost
because
to
they
Clemson
lost to the
that Clemson beat.
teams. Yeah, they lost to the teams that we already beat, right? They lost to North Carolina State. They lost to Wake Forest. They lost to us. So they're no longer ranked. But they
And
were
then
ranked.
also-
But they beat LSU.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm about to
and
say.
they beat
LSU.
LSU. And here's the thing: is the national media is out here talking about, oh, LSU's so good, they're so much improved, they're doing so good. Hello, we beat a team that beat LSU, and I know you cannot take, you can't say,
Transitive
oh, we
proper
beat.
and all that.
Yeah, you can't like that. That never works in college football, and I understand that. But I'm so sick of the disrespect and them saying that Clemson has this cakewalk into the college football playoffs. That's not the case. There's look here, the schedule that Clemson has played. Smitty sent me an article earlier this week that said Clemson had the number 3 most difficult schedule in the country so far. So to sit here and say that Clemson hasn't been tested, look at Wake Forest. Are you telling me how much better is Tennessee than Wake Forest? They're basically the same team. They don't play defense, and they have amazing offense. I mean, yeah, you could say Tennessee's better than Wake Forest, but they're pretty much the same type of team. They have an amazing offense and no defense. So,
Well, excuse me. Let me put it like this to you: being a historian of college football, if our name was Texas A&M or Miami, some those type of programs, we would have a different outlook. And Mark said, I tried to explain to Mark this the other day, and I know he has limited amount of time that he could talk on his period on his show. But however, if you go back and look at the fact that Clemson has winning records against some of the major blue bloods like Oklahoma, Notre Dame, and those schools,
Ohio State.
We don't get the same respect because we're not named a blue blood. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the problems is, like I tell people about the 1990s. 1980s. Go look at how good Clemson program was. But we don't get the same respect because our name is not Miami. Look, Texas A&M hasn't done anything since 1957, but people talk about them every year like they're going to be the bomb. Well, every time they talk about us, it's like the ACC's weak. ACC's weak. And that's not always the case. Like this year, the ACC's not weak this year. 2016, the ACC wasn't weak. The ACC was probably the best conference. So everybody keeps coming up with these narratives. The ACC week. Well, we went 2-1 against the Big Ten this year. I think we have a winning record versus the SEC this year so far. Then people say, well, that was Duke and Northwestern. They're equal teams, so we won.
Yeah,
Syracuse beat Purdue, and Purdue is the number 3rd team in the And we talk about transitional properties. LSU beat Florida, who beat Utah, who was the number 17 team in the nation. So,
and it just bothers me that there's this national media out here that they literally get paid to pay attention to college football. Like they live, eat, and breathe college football, and they don't understand the fact that the teams that we've played. Like, what a lazy take to be like, oh, Clemson hasn't been tested and won't be tested until a college football playoff. Have you even looked at the teams that we've played?
Oh no, they have.
Because if you have and you still have that take, like I don't know what you're looking at.
It's I'll tell you what it is, and Hunter Goatfro kind of hinted at it in the comments. It's because really it's the logo on the helmet that they care about. If you were placed, the number of the ranking of the teams that Clemson has beaten, but you just changed their name to Florida State. Well, and Florida State's a team they beat, but they weren't ranked. But Florida State or Miami or name any other traditional power in the conference, or not even just within the conference. You could just put anybody in that has some kind of pedigree in there, and they would look at that schedule a lot different. But because it's Wake Forest, who is historically a program, but that doesn't matter what you've done in your history. It matters what you are now. And Wake Forest absolutely is a very good team.
People need to stop disrespecting. Yeah, people need to stop disrespecting Wake Forest, because I guarantee you, like they can talk about the Big Ten and the SEC all they want, and I know they love those. I know they love those patches on those uniforms with the Big Ten and the SEC, and those are the greatest conferences to ever dawn, in college football. But I guarantee you, those teams don't want to see Wake Forest, because Wake Forest is going to put up a ton of points against any of those teams. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Wake Forest is going to score a bunch of points on all of those teams.
And also,
I don't see this huge gap. Yeah,
Wake Forest has been better than Texas over the last 7-8 years.
And they're talking about Tennessee, like, oh, Tennessee's, they're back, and they're finally, they finally found their coach, and yada yada yada. What I mean, honestly, please tell me the difference between Wake Forest and Tennessee.
The logo on the helmet.
Exactly. It's the logo on the helmet and the conference they play in. That is all that separates those two teams. You're telling, like, Hendon Hooker, Sam Hartman. I think they're comparable players. Like, they're very good quarterbacks. They're offenses that put up a ton of points and a ton of yards. Their defenses suck. What's the difference? It's the conference they play in and the logo on the helmet. Nothing more, nothing less. So for the national media to sit here and pretend like they don't understand that, it's just absolutely ridiculous to me. And it's lazy, and it's come on. Like, really? This is what we're doing?
Right. This past week, I've never seen a team get scrutinized more over a top 15 win than I saw Clemson this week.
It was an undefeated team that came into Clemson. Undefeated team came into Clemson this past weekend. We turned the ball over 4 times and still won by 6 points. Yeah. And we're being scrutinized like, oh, we're some bum program. Like, I'm not saying we played a great game, because we didn't. We gave Syracuse every opportunity to win that game. But guess what? Name a team out there that could win a game against a top 15 team and turn the ball over 4 times?
It's not many.
Not very many teams out there can say that they can win a game like that. But Clemson did. They found a way to win that game. So that's got to count for something.
Clemson got more criticism for beating a top 15 Syracuse team, struggling with a top 15 Syracuse team, than Georgia did for struggling with a awful Missouri.
Yeah,
and that there's a double standard, and I don't want this to turn into just a whole, we're all complaining about the media and stuff, but man, I
don't either. But it's got to be said. Because
we also got to remember Joe Clatt, the ACC's not on his channel, so he's not going to hype them up.
They don't write his page. He works
Big
for Fox.
10, Pac-10, and Big 12. He doesn't have to do ACC, so that's why he's not on. That's why another reason why he always dissing ACC. Him and Kellen Cowherd, you're never going to hear them talk good about him.
Yeah. I just look again. I'm with Jordan. I don't want this to turn into a bash the media session or anything like that. I just had to get that off my chest because I think it's absolutely ridiculous to have those kind of takes. But I think we've talked enough about it. I think Clemson's record speaks for itself. It's 8-0. We got 3 top 25 wins, current top 25 teams that we've beaten that are still ranked in the top 25. So we will move on from that. And we will move on. We'll move on to kind of the preseason or the kind of the preseason thoughts about the offense and defense coming into the season, and then what has happened so far. So we'll start with the offensive side of the ball. Jordan, we'll start with you, and then DeAndre, we'll go to you after Jordan's done. So the offense coming into the season, kind of the preconceived notions for the offense was we had a quarterback controversy, right? Was DJ going to be the guy? Was Cade going to replace him 4 games into the season, kind of like a Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence type situation? What receivers would step up? Would we be able to stay healthy in the receiver position? How would the offensive line play? So talk a little bit about the preconceived notions coming in for the offense, and then what has happened so far, Jordan.
Yeah, well, it all starts with the quarterback position. That was that was obviously just the big, just glaring question, because as many reasons as you can put for why the Clemson offense struggled last year, it ultimately fell on a lot of it. Ultimately fell on DJ's shoulders, and it was a fair question to ask whether he was going, really take a step forward and be able to play a lot better than he did last year, and that was the big question, and you couple that with the offensive line. You had 4 returning starters, but you didn't know who was going to start at one of your guard positions, and so. And that was a unit that underperformed, but improved as the season went on last year. But it was still a concern, and obviously the receiver room was, it was lots of injuries, lots of questions about a lack of a true number 1 wide receiver, especially with Justin Ross leaving the program and going to the NFL, and so it was a. It was a unit as a whole that was in a huge state of flux. You couple that with Tony Elliott taking the UVA job, Dabo choosing to promote from within. So now you have a new offensive coordinator, new passing game coordinator as well, with Kyle Richardson being promoted. So it was just the whole unit was just a state of mystery. And so no one really knew what it was going to look like, what to expect. A lot of people were like, well, it can't be any worse. They have to be better. But the question was, how much better do they get? With a lot of guys stepping into new roles in the coaching staff and the players themselves. And so, in retrospect and looking at how they've played over, the course of this season, it's been a pleasant. A lot of aspects have been a pleasant surprise. And it starts with the improvement of DJ, and it's hard. It's harder to talk about now because obviously he didn't have his best performance on Saturday. But all in all, over the course of the season, DJ has been great. That was the nicest surprise, and it was looking kind of spotty with in the first half of that Georgia Tech game, but since then he's been pretty much lights out. The offensive line, with Blake Miller stepping in at right tackle, Walker Parks moving over to guard. They've been a unit that has, they've been pretty consistent a lot of the year. And it seems like they're only getting better. They've been really good in pass protection. That was the most impressive thing to me about this team is their pass protection. They've given DJ a lot of time especially in the bigger games, like at the Wake Forest game where DJ, he had his best game of the year so far. He had lots of time to throw, and it's been a revelation for this offense, and then obviously the wide receivers have been they've been a work in progress, but clearly a lot better than they were a season ago with the addition of Antonio Williams. Has been a really huge addition for this unit, and he's been. We'll talk about when we get to the midseason awards, but I'm sure he's definitely a guy on some of you got award lists. So
for sure,
all in all, the offense has been. I think it's been a good offense. I don't think anybody really expected them to just come out guns a-blazing, turn into the Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson type offense. But I think they've been a pretty good unit. I didn't even mention the running backs, but that was kind of the one thing going into the season that Clemson, it was like we kind of
knew count on that, right?
Yeah, we kind of knew what we had there.
Yeah. And that it's as much as we say that. This isn't a Trevor Lawrence and this isn't a Deshaun Watson offense. They're putting up kind of similar numbers if you really look at it from a numbers point of view. From DJ this season, not counting the Syracuse game. Obviously, he had a rough game, but coming into that game, he had put up similar numbers that both Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson put up in their second years as starters. So as much as we want to talk about as Clemson fans saying that the offense, is kind of not where it has been in years past, and I would agree with that. It doesn't look as smooth. It doesn't look as effortless as it has in years past. They are putting up some pretty good numbers. So DeAndre, what do you got for the Clemson offense?
I think the Clemson offense played good. The offensive line stepped up this year so far. Miller, he gets a lot of false start penalties, but I think he's been solid most of the season. Tight ends, amazing. Receivers, I think we all agreed, and we talked about it to death, that we were looking for versatile guys, and Antonio Williams gave it to us. I think when the guy and Collins, when they have one-on-one coverage, they're able to beat it. Running backs, we knew that we were going to be good. Could you imagine if I don't know what he's doing because he's going to transfer like 3 times, but Bowman, Shipley, Musa, who transferred to Wisconsin, and Leon Dixon, how good this running back room will be with this offensive line is just amazing. But it is what it is. I can't wait to get paid.
Clemson has had some a crazy amount of good running backs. Not all have stayed, obviously, as you mentioned, those guys that kind of left. But we've had some talent in that backfield.
Yeah, Page. I just think our offense is pretty good. I think a new fresh breath. I'm going to kick Tony Elliott for a second because I really think Tony Elliott has been the cause of DJ.
Come on now.
Hey, look at Brendan Armstrong. He led the league country in passer. You can't tell me what he's doing. I know it's offensive line, Jordan. I got you.
Hey. Don't disrespect Tony Elliott.
Yeah, man. Hey, he doing that to do himself, bro. But anyway, but I just think the change of voice helped DJ out a little bit. And him losing the weight, the dedication. But, man, I think offense has been great, man. That's all I got on offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll talk a little bit about the offense. First and foremost, DJ, I mean, that dude he's got to be the most mature college football athlete that I've seen in a long time. Like the way that he dealt with all the criticism last year, and most of it was deserved. Let's be honest. He played terribly last season, um, but he took it. He took it on the chin, and he decided to get better this offseason. He decided to lose weight. He decided to become a better runner. He decided to work on his footwork. He went to QB camps in Texas and worked on his mechanics, and he's become a much more accurate quarterback. He's become a much more consistent quarterback, albeit coming off the Syracuse game where he turned the ball over 3 times. I get it. We all understand what DJ did last game. We understand that it was not to the Clemson standard, especially for the quarterback position. But at the end of the day, he again handled himself. If you see him in the interviews immediately following the Syracuse game, he's talking about, hey, I don't care about stats. I don't care about this and that and the other. I care about winning football games. And Cade came in and he won the football game for us, and I'm happy for it. And look, to have a leader like that on your team, to have a guy like that on your team that is that mature, that is that self-aware, that like, hey, I would have benched myself. I wasn't playing well. I think Dabo made the right decision. That's what he said in his interview. And for a college athlete to say something like that, I think that speaks volumes. I think that speaks to his leadership. I think that speaks to his ability to be self-aware. And I think that speaks to, that he will improve. He will take this on the chin like he did last season, and I think he will improve. And I think he'll come out next game and be better for it. I'm not saying he's going to put up freshman DJ numbers against Notre Dame because those numbers were absolutely insane, if we're being completely honest. That's what kind of got everybody excited about, kind of when Trevor Lawrence left. We're like, oh, well, Trevor Lawrence left. That sucks. But we got DJ. Look what he did in the 2 games, that he played while Trevor Lawrence was in the COVID protocol. So I'm not saying he'll put up those kind of numbers, but I think DJ is made of the right stuff, man. Like, I just think he's a leader. He's self-aware. He understands that, he wasn't playing well and that Dabo made the right call. And I respect that kind of response from a player, especially in a position that he's playing, where there's typically a lot of arrogance. There's typically a lot of ego in that position, and he does not seem to have any of it. He seems to be really self-aware and know exactly where he stands. So that's just kind of how I see it. I think the offense has played well. I think our running game is, to speak to our offensive line, if I'm being honest, is better than I thought it would be. And we'll get to that later on when we get to our preseason or our midseason awards. But our offensive line has played great overall for the season. Look, I know Shipley and Maffa are dynamic backs, and so is Kobe Pace. I hope he gets healthy soon. But without an offensive line, they cannot do what they're doing. And it's amazing to see the progression of the offensive line from last year to this year. So I think that's the biggest improvement on the offensive side of the ball. But we'll transition to the defense at this point. Preseason hype coming into the season for the defense. Our front seven is an elite front seven, right? We got an NFL defensive line, if you will. If you hear any of the scouts out there, if you heard any of the national media coming into this season, our defense front seven, or at least our defensive line, was crowned as basically the best in college football before they even played a snap. So that was kind of some preconceived notions that came into the season for the Clemson defense. We came in really unexperienced on the back end, but if you heard anybody talk about the Clemson defense coming into the season, it was going to be all about the front seven, and that would make up for the back end. So, with that said, and with those preconceived notions set, how do you guys think it's played out so far, as far as the Clemson defense goes?
Slightly, I'm gonna say slightly disappointing in some
Yeah,
areas, but
yeah, yeah,
it really, but not disappointing in the sense that they don't like they just can't play how we thought they were going to play because we've seen it. I think it's just they have not put, they haven't shown that consistency that last year's defense was able to show as far as just being dominant, giving 100% every snap. And obviously it's a big deal when you don't have two first team All ACC corners anymore. And you have a
yeah,
lot of new guys stepping into positions, and then you've got guys that are injured and in and out of the lineup with injury, starting true freshmen that are playing bigger minutes in the back end. But all in all, I think the defense is really. I think the defense has been good. It's been a good unit that has shown flashes of being the elite unit that it was touted to be in the offseason. Obviously, the defensive line has been great for they've had their moments, but all in all, they've been a pretty effective and dominant unit. They've shown a lot of versatility, especially with getting guys back. These some guys that have stepped up that finally the light came on, and we'll talk about those guys. But the linebackers I think have been pretty much as good as advertised. Especially that starting three, Simpson, Carter, Trotter. They've been a pretty phenomenal group. Really, it's just obviously the secondary. We knew it would have issues. It's really just about guys staying healthy, and
yeah,
that's kind of been a big part of the defense. When they have had lapses, it's just guys not being 100%, or guys not key guys not being in the lineup. But all in all, I think the defense has shown flashes of what it can be, and I think Wes Goodwin stepping in as the defensive coordinator, I think he's had to go through a little bit of a learning curve. But I think you're seeing week to week how he's starting to adjust. I think his his ability to adjust, especially in the second half, has been really noticeable, especially since that Wake Forest game. I think his ability to make adjustments has been really, really good. And when at times when the defense is giving up stuff, I think he does a good job of collecting them, and they play a lot better, especially towards the latter half of the game. So again, I think the defense has been good. Hasn't been the dominant, elite unit at all times, but I think it's a unit that is building towards being that. So I still have a lot of high optimism for what this defense can be.
yeah, absolutely. All right, DeAndre, what do you think about the offense so far this season? Or excuse me, not the offense, the defense so far this season. Coming into the season, as I said, the front seven was crowned as possibly the greatest that Clemson has seen. How do you think they performed so far?
I think they did a good job. Well, the defensive line was probably considered the best position group in
Yeah,
college football in any position group, and that's including Ohio State receivers, who I think is really, really good. But I guess everybody got a bad taste from the Wake Forest game left in their mouth a lot of times. But I think just injuries kept our secondary from doing good in the spirits. So I think that had a lot to do with it, and I was glad to see West change up a little bit, play a little bit more zone and stuff. I still think we missed a lot of tackles. I think the Florida State game, we missed 24 tackles. And when they came out against Syracuse, I thought they came out not looking as good as they talked it up to be. So I think, I think they all were physically tired, and I think they needed a break. I'm talking about offense and defense. I think they all needed a break. So I think this bye week's going to do them some good, get some more things straight. Somebody said Xander's is being missed. I don't think so because Xander's only played 2 games last year before he got hurt. I don't think he's really missed. I just think a lot of times we're playing out of position. I just think our defense is good. I think we don't play as good as offenses down the stretch outside of maybe Louisville as we had played earlier because O'Leary, he was a good quarterback. Hartman, 3 or 4 year starter, he's going to be pretty good. There's a couple other guys out there that we played against. The guy from Syracuse, I think Schrader was good. I mean, he's a hell of an athlete. So, so I just think we played some tough offenses, and we're gonna pick up some stats. I mean, Xavier Thomas been hurt, the emotional stuff that Breezy's been through. Not sure that affected his team, and then him catching the liver thing. Also, even if our other players played really good, I really think that we have stepped up and did some amazing things. And some people have figured some things out. Boston College and Florida State used 7 or 8 people to block. I mean, across the thing. So that helped out with the stopping our defensive line. So, these coaches get paid too. I think we did a pretty good job early in the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our defenses performed well at times and not so good at other times. Obviously, the Wake Forest game comes to mind. Our secondary got really exposed, if you will, in that game. It was not a great game for us. Our run defense has been pretty good all season up until that Florida State game, right?
Yeah,
that Florida State game really, that was not a good performance when it came to the running game. We let Jordan Travis kind of have his way in the running game. We let those 2 backup running backs kind of have their way as well. Not very well, but I think overall our defense has played pretty well. I would not compare them to any of the great Clemson defenses because they've just been too inconsistent, in my opinion, to be compared to those type of defenses. But at the end of the day, they've got the job done. They came up big last week in the Syracuse game. We would not have won that game without a stout defense. We wouldn't have been able to claw our way back in because our offense could not move the ball in an efficient way in order to score quickly, right? We had to kind of claw our way back in slowly with the running game and really, pound out some yards. And that required our defense to keep the Syracuse offense at bay. And they did. They really shut down Schrader. They shut down the receivers. The running back, what's his name? His name escapes me right now.
Tucker.
Tucker kind of, he had 5 carries in the game. I don't know how that happens, but
that was an offensive coordinator ball right there.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens. I know every Syracuse fan out there is probably screaming and yelling about that, but Schrader had like 21 carries. Much like the Clemson fans talk about, hey, let the running backs run the ball, not DJ. I think that's kind of what the Syracuse fans are feeling after that game. But I think our defense has played well so far. They've gotten the job done. They've done enough to keep us in every single game, and I think they will continue to get better. Our front seven is finally starting to get healthy. Our defense as a whole is starting to get healthy. We had a ton of injuries on the back end early on in the season. I think we're really starting to get healthy, and I think that's why this bye week is so important. We have really suffered a lot of injuries as far as the back end. We've played true freshmen in the back end. We've played people that were not supposed to play this season in the back end in very meaningful snaps, right? So as good as our defensive line is, as good as our linebackers are, our secondary has been kind of handicapped for most of the season, and I think they're starting to get healthy. And part of it is that those young guys had to grow up really quickly, and they had to get some serious reps that maybe they weren't ready for, but it has paid dividends so far this season, and I think it will continue to pay dividends as we go forward. So I think Clemson's defense is only getting better as the season goes on, and I look for that to continue. I don't have any complaints when it comes to Clemson's defense, other than we thought it would be more dominant than it was, but it was hampered by some, not making excuses, but it was hampered by some injuries. So that's kind of my thoughts on the defense. You guys got any thoughts? Any more thoughts on the offense or the defense before we move on?
No, I think we were pretty comprehensive about that. So
yeah, I just love the. I hate to skip to this, but and I'm gonna say it like this: could you imagine what our offense is gonna be next year if DJ does decide to check around? I mean, I hate to look for the future, but I, I think the future is bright, and everybody needs to be looking at it like it's brighter than what it is.
Hey, look, I welcome DJ coming back next season if he wants to.
Yeah, I'm not complaining.
I will not complain at all.
Jordan, I got a question for you. What's up with Lay? What do you hear around campus about Lay? Christian Lay, Travis Lay, whatever his name is. The number one offensive lineman that came out two years ago.
Tristan Lay?
Yeah, what's the deal with him?
I mean, I don't really hear stuff about him. I mean, he's listed at he's listed as the backup left tackle right now. I don't think there's anything going on. I don't think he's quite ready. I mean, that playing left tackle is he has a lot of growing to do there. So it's one of the toughest positions in the sport. So it's a developmental thing. I know he came out. He's a 5-star, but not all 5 stars are created equal. Some guys come in more ready. So not everybody's Mitch Hyatt and comes in and starts as a freshman and starts for 4 years. It's a development, and plus he's behind a really good player in his own right, and Jordan McFadden, who's been a long
Jordan
time
McFadden
starter.
is an absolute beast.
Yeah. And also, I think we also seen that Clemson doesn't trust Cade to throw the ball down the field either.
Other than the one where he drew the pass interference penalty.
Yeah, I think they trust Cade. I don't think the Syracuse game was an accurate portrayal of how much they trust Cade. I think it was just I think Clemson just knew that running the ball was the answer against Syracuse, and they finally came to grips with that, and that's what it was. I don't think it necessarily reflects on Cade whether they trust him or not to throw the ball down the field.
I think so.
I think he can, and he will. I think it was just more of a matchup issue.
Okay.
But that's just my opinion.
That's kind of how I see it. I don't. Syracuse, their team, the way they play, I mean, they don't give up a lot over the top. They play a lot of off coverage. They're not going to, they're not going to give you a whole lot of looks where you can just, take shots. So I don't think it was. I think they just needed somebody that wasn't going to press and wasn't going to throw into coverage. And when they did ask him to throw, which obviously wasn't a lot, they just needed someone to manage the game and just get a little bit of a spark. I don't think it was really do they trust Cade or not. I think he'll be fine.
I think he will as well.
Yeah, and he also had a couple of nice QB runs too. He's a little bit. He is a bit more. He's definitely shiftier than DJ when in a lot of those zone reads and stuff.
He's a lot faster than DJ.
Yeah,
I think he's perfect for the offense. I think
they ran a lot more. They ran a lot more tempo when Cade was in the game than they typically run with DJ. So
right, but yeah, it's not about but I think Cade did a great job of managing the game and but I think that's about
it. Yeah, absolutely. Before we move into our midseason awards, let's give some shout out to the chat. We got Bible Belt Beauties in, we got Tony Cheek in, John Sarian's in. Let's see who else. Hunter Goatfro, one of our regulars. Who else you guys see that we normally see in here? Scott Moss is in the chat. You guys let me know if I'm missing anybody. If you guys want to highlight.
Did you shout out Drew?
I did not.
And John too. John, I think you said John because John's always.
No, he did say John.
Yeah, John Sarian. Yeah, I said him. Any comments you guys want to highlight before we move on into the next segment?
Oh, JJ's in the chat. What's up, JJ?
Drew Grove. JJ. There we go.
I'm ready to get into these awards if you are.
All right. So, hey, everybody in the chat right now, we are about to get into our mid-season awards. Okay? So, I hit everybody up on the panel tonight earlier this week about these mid-season awards. We have kind of all put our list together. So, as we introduce our mid-season awards, you guys can put them in the comments and we'll react to your mid-season awards as we give our mid-season awards. Okay, we'll go one at a time. We'll start with Jordan, then we'll go to DeAndre, and then we'll go to myself for each award. And that's kind of how we'll roll it. If you guys got some if you guys could just like comment your people in the chat, we'll kind of read those off as well and kind of react to those in real time. If that makes sense to everybody, we'll kind of make this segment of the show kind of interactive if we can. So we got a lot of midseason awards to get to, but first and foremost, we're gonna go defensive rookie of the year, midseason awards. Defensive rookie of the year, Jordan. Who you got?
Well, and just to clarify, the defensive rookie of the year is just freshman, right? Or was it
Freshman? Freshman.
Okay.
Freshman
Right.
is the requirement. True freshman.
Okay.
True freshman.
True. Yeah. All right. Because I was like, if it was a first year starter, it would have been something different. But
how many true freshmen actually start though?
True freshman.
Well, yeah. My defensive rookie of the year is so far is Toriano Pride. I mean, he was forced into action into a lot more action than obviously Clemson really expected him to with the injuries, to Sheridan Jones and Malcolm Green and guys like that. It forced him to play a lot of snaps, and he got baptized in that Wake Forest game. Obviously Wiggins didn't have his best; he didn't have a great game, but Pride was in there a lot too. But I think he's really, since that game, he really has blossomed, and he's, you haven't heard his name called very much. He played really well in the NC State game, got himself an interception. He had to come in when Andrew Makuba went down. Makuba was playing a lot of corner in that game, and
absolutely.
But no, he didn't go down. He got ejected for targeting. And so he had to play a lot of snaps, and I thought he did a great job. He got an interception. He covered really well. NC State didn't, do a lot of plays. And just all in all, just this season, he's been very, very solid since that Wake Forest game, and he's really starting to grow and learn the defense. And so, there haven't been a lot of true freshmen, that have played a lot of consequential snaps, but Toriano Pride has certainly earned his award here. So he's my pick.
DeAndre, what you got?
Cool. I'll go with Corvell.
Who?
The strong safety, number 10.
Oh, Sherrod Cover.
Sherrod Cover, I'm sorry.
Good pick. I thought about him too.
Yeah, he came in that Wake Forest game and played well. I really don't see a whole bunch of freshmen.
Freshmen typically don't start. So, that's a good pick. I like Jordan. I got Toriano Pride. I just think he was tasked with some really difficult jobs this season. He was asked to do some things that he wasn't quite ready for, and I think he adequately stepped up to the challenge. I think he played as good as a true freshman could on the back end of this defense. I think he kind of sparked a defense that was not doing so well. I think Toriano Pride is the rookie of the year for the defense so far this season. So let's go offensive rookie of the year. Offensive rookie of the year. DeAndre, who do you got?
Blake. I'm going with offensive lineman. I'm going with Blake.
Wow. You going Blake Miller? I like it. I like it. Who you got?
Wait, me?
Yeah, Jordan.
Oh, okay. I was kind of surprised that DeAndre picked Blake Miller, but Blake, it was really only two options. It was but it's got to be Agent Zero. It's got to be Antonio Williams.
I like it. Agent Zero.
I think his importance to the offense and just it would have been Blake Miller if Blake Miller's had his he's played really well this season, but he's also had his moments. He's kind of had to have that learning curve that Antonio Williams just hasn't had to have because he's come in up and made an impact. Mm-hmm. And so it's got to be Antonio Williams. He just opens up so much for this offense. Just his understanding of the nuances of the position, his route running ability, his shiftiness, his speed. he's just a kind of a do it all guy. He's done a lot. He's done damage in the return game as well. He's one of the pieces that this Clemson offense sorely missed last year. And it's clear, he's only scratching the surface of his potential, man. He's so good. Has he dropped a pass this year? I don't think he has.
I don't think so, man. Antonio Williams wasn't my pick for offensive rookie of the year just because I figured everyone else would pick Antonio Williams. So I didn't pick Antonio Williams, but to your point, I don't think Antonio Williams has dropped a single pass. This dude has been the most needed part of Clemson's offense that I have ever seen. This is the part of Clemson's offense that was missing last season. This is the versatile guy that's fast. He's quick. He can make things happen in the open field. He can get separation. He can go deep. He can do it all, right? This dude is Amari Rogers in the flesh. Just a new guy, right?
He's taller than Rogers.
Yeah, he may end up being better
hands
than Rogers ever was. And Rogers was a great player at Clemson, right? So
let me defend my pick of Miller on that one, though.
You don't have to defend it.
No, you don't have to defend it.
Let me break it down to you, though.
I'm gonna get into Miller because I picked him. That was my pick too. So go ahead. I'll let you defend him. Go ahead.
Well, the reason why I say Miller, remember, Spector started over Williams to start the season. Blake had to come off. I know everybody said, well, they have all these false start penalties. Man, think about it. You moved Allen over because the tackles didn't play bad last year for Walker Parks. I'm sorry, over the guard. Yeah. And so when we say that, he got some little false starts penalty, but even people came in saying, "Dad, this dude is a monster."
Yeah,
and another person I know we ain't gonna get much into. Think about how good Tate has played since last year, because that's another guy we haven't talked about. Tate I don't think we even call his name enough to say how great he has held over that left side of the line with Matt Fearson. But that offensive line is just amazing. I can't wait to see them next year. All of them outside of McFadden on returns next year. I think Putnam might be gone, but yeah,
I think Putnam will come back. I think he has I think he still has another year. If I were him, I'd come back.
Yeah, I would just use that for example, but I had to go with Blake Miller. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Blake Miller was my pick as well. That was my number one pick because I assumed everyone would go the Antonio Williams route, which is my first thought. That's where I went. So I went Blake Miller because I want to give some love to the offensive line. I want to give some love to those big boys up front that are paving the way for Phil Maffa, for Will Shipley, for our running game. I think our offensive line is the most improved position group of this season. I really, truly believe that. And Blake Miller
other than quarterback.
Yeah, maybe other than quarterback. That's the most improved position group this season. And it's partly because of Blake Miller. Look, here's the thing. Offensive line is one of the toughest positions on the field to learn, especially as a freshman and to start as a freshman. And look, at the end of the day, it's not easy to learn that position. It's not easy to be physically and mentally ready to play that position as a freshman. And if you are a special talent, and you are probably someone that's going to have a long career in football. And I think Blake Miller is that guy. I know he has had some false start issues, but I think that's just kind of being a freshman, right? Look, he can't be perfect, but I think he has been I mean, look, there's not very many guys in Clemson that come in as a freshman and start, especially at the tackle position. So I think that speaks for itself. And that for those reasons, Blake Miller was my pick. So let's go defensive player of the year, Jordan. Defensive player of the year. Who do you got for defensive player of the year so far?
So I kind of cheated, and I have a tie.
Oh no!
I have two,
Oh no!
and the first one is none other than Mr. KJ Henry.
Hell
Um,
yeah, KJ Henry, absolutely.
I think KJ Henry has quietly, in some ways, quietly been the most important piece on this defense. Not just because he's playing out of his mind, but from a friendship standpoint,
Yeah,
being that vocal guy,
absolutely,
rallying, getting guys, you see him, getting guys into their assignments and making
absolutely,
sure
man.
everybody's on the same page.
KJ Henry, like I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm
No,
sorry,
go ahead. Go
but
ahead.
KJ Henry has been an absolute. I mean, like this dude is out of his mind this season. He's
Yeah.
playing out of his mind. His leadership is off the charts. This guy has, I mean, has anyone grown more and developed more at a program than KJ Henry? Like,
Right.
like if any college athlete coming or any high school athlete coming into college looks at anything in college, like look at KJ Henry and how he has developed over the years at Clemson. Because to be completely honest, for the better part of his career, he was just a guy at Clemson. He was
Yep.
not the guy. He was just another guy at Clemson. He was just another dude in the rotation. He was nothing special. But this season, he has really stepped forward as the leader of that defense. He has been vocal when he needed to be vocal. He has been just lights out when it comes to effort. I mean, it's just amazing to watch, and I love to see it, dude. So yeah, go ahead. You keep going.
Yeah, but I mean, we could gush about KJ Henry all day. All
Yeah,
day. He's played
love
phenomenal.
that.
He's been a fantastic leader. I think a leader that this defense has sorely needed because I don't think. I mean, if you just look at the guys on on the team, there's not a lot of really vocal personalities. On that defensive side of the ball. At least from a leadership. But the guys, KJ being a fifth year guy, it's been really phenomenal to see the light kind of come on. He was a former 5-star recruit, and he was
Yeah,
a really highly touted guy coming out. And it's been a longer journey than some people thought it would, but it's finally come on for him. And I think he's a piece that this defense sorely needed this season. And I think it's part of the reason why they've been able to kind of coalesce and come together, because they needed that kind of leadership. But that's enough about KJ Henry. I could talk about his play all day. I've been such a fan. It's been great to see. But my other pick, and Hunter Goatfro already mentioned it in the comments, but the other Agent Zero on defense, Barrett Carter.
Oh, Barrett Carter. I like
Barrett
it.
Carter as a true
I like
sophomore,
it.
moving over into that nickel Sam role that Trenton Simpson played last season. I think he's been great. Just anytime he's played, he is a special player. Just the way he moves, the way he covers, the way he tackles. The guy is just all over the place. Like you just watch.
Absolutely.
Obviously he wasn't able to play against Syracuse, but he just the way if you watch any play, and he somehow manages to make an impact in it. If the ball could go to the complete opposite side that he's on, and he somehow ends up in the tackle.
I
Like,
know, right? Like, isn't it crazy how like this dude like literally could go from one side of the field to the other, and like it seems effortless to him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
he may be the most consistent player on Clemson's defense.
Yeah. It's hard to argue. He's just been great. I mean, has he had? He's maybe had one, like, I don't know, but one bad moment that I can think of, maybe. But like he's been
no. I can't think of a single bad moment for Barrett Carter.
I think he might have had he had an
yeah, I'm
he,
probably being biased.
I think
but
he
I'm
had
just
a
saying.
couple, one or two missed tackles in the Florida State game. That's the only thing I can think of. But like
Don't you say that, Jordan? Don't you disrespect?
But
I know.
To my point,
I'm kidding.
the consistency has been great. He's
Yeah,
been
absolutely. Like
just the way he plays the position. He's so instinctive. His athleticism is special for a guy of his size and at that position. And so he's I think he's second on the team in tackles behind Simpson, and he's he's just been great filling in as a first year starter. He's a true sophomore. I mean, not every guy
sophomore.
Yeah, not every guy comes in and as a first year starter and just makes an impact
because and here's the thing. Like let's think about this for a minute. As much as we talk about what was his name? Isaiah Simmons, right? As much as we talk about Isaiah Simmons was a developmental player. Like Isaiah Simmons was not who he was when he came to Clemson. Clemson developed Isaiah Simmons into what he became. So, it's just for Barrett Carter to be what he is as a true sophomore is absolutely amazing. It's mind-boggling what he has done so far this season. Yeah. So, DeAndre, who do you have?
Tyler Davis.
That's a great pick.
Davis.
Yeah, I mean, he made some of those screens that teams be running, he go on the sideline to be a big fella too. I think he had an important sack against Florida State to help us win the game. I mean, all those guys are great pick. I mean, you can't go wrong. Like you said, Isaiah Simmons, when he came out, he got red shirted. He was a receiver going over the linebacker. Then, he got red shirted. Brett Carter, same type of person, came out of Georgia, multiple positions. I watched him play in a game in high school on YouTube, and he was playing running back, quarterback, wide receiver. So he's a true talent. But Tyler Davis, to me, you got to give some love to the big fella. And there is so many, especially in the front seven, that you can put. Because Roku, who doesn't get the love that Breezy and Tyler Davis gets. I mean, think about some of the stuff he's done this year. Page plays well. I mean, all these guys. I think the only person who had a guy called out is my boy on the other side, number 98, Murphy. I think he's the only one that has been called out this year for bad plays. You can't blame that defensive line.
He leads the team in sacks. That's the crazy part.
But he did get called for slacking, though.
Yeah, he did, but he's played great. He has 6 sacks on the year, I think.
He has played great.
I mean, and I mean, Trotter coming in. I know he took a bad angle in that Syracuse game, but I mean, I just think we got so many great players. Like you said, just haven't meshed all the way through, but Tyler Davis definitely mine. And, Breezy would have been in there, but, he dealing – that's just the heart right there, man, for that man to keep on coming after losing his sister in kindergarten. So, I give him my props, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian Breezy is definitely an honorable mention for sure. I'm going to go a little bit different way just because I had KJ Henry as my number one. But since Jordan mentioned him, I'm going to go a different way. I'm going to go Jeremiah Trotter. Jeremiah Trotter. Like, Jeremiah Trotter has been an absolute beast when it comes to the linebacker position. He has absolutely been elite this season. I think he has really carried this defense. I think he's been a leader. He's the one that called the players only meeting for the Clemson defense when it came to them not performing in the way that they really want to perform, and I think he's really uh, really galvanized that defense and been a leader on that defense. So I would say Jeremiah Trotter is definitely an honorable mention. Um, uh, Granted, like I think KJ Henry was my number one, but Jeremiah Trotter was close to for me. Um, so I would say Jeremiah Trotter was definitely you know uh, worth mentioning for defensive player of the year so far. Just because of his leadership and just because of he plays so hard. Like he is flying around every play. He is he's really getting after it for the most part every single play. So I think Jeremiah Trotter. That dude, I really like that dude, man. Like he is a leader. He is a leader on that defense. So I see people mentioning some people in the chat. Huffer Billy Paul says now Pinkney.
Well, not
Um,
well. Niles Pink Soda.
well, Pinkney. No, he's not on the team anymore. Hold up, wait.
No, yeah, he's at. Uh, no, I don't even know if he's still in Minnesota. I think he graduated. But
Yeah, he graduated.
he graduated.
yeah, I don't.
So who's some people in the chat that people are mentioning? Who do you guys think in the chat?
Everybody mentioned the same ones we mentioned, man. There's
Yeah.
no big change. Yeah, everybody's pretty much mentioned the same people we mentioned.
Yeah. So Agent Zero, Jeremiah Trotter, KJ Henry. Obviously, those are the honorable mentions for it. So let's move on to Offensive Player of the Year for the midseason awards. Who do you got, Jordan, for Offensive Player of the Year?
This one was kind of hard. Just, but I got to go with Will Shipley.
Will Shipley. Okay, I like it.
I
I like Will Shipley.
He's just his ability. He's kind of just done it all. He's had a great season, and he's stepped up in really big moments. Yeah, I think he's a phenomenal running back. I mean, what else can you say? He's been great in he's a great runner, but he's been great in the passing game. His pass protection has gotten better as the season has gone on. He's made big plays in the return game. Obviously that Florida State game comes to mind. He's been he's been Clemson's best offensive weapon. And so kind of hard not to pick him when it comes to awards. So yeah, give me Will Shipley.
Okay, DeAndre, who you got for offensive so
DJ.
far this season? DJ. Oh snap! We got a DJ.
You see, I saved DJ for one of the later awards.
Yeah.
I mean, you can give him two. My son just came home with 8 awards today, so you give a person more than one award. But the dedication to come back, lose the weight, he didn't give up. Everybody knew what was going on with his life, the pressure that he's under. The $800,000 for the Dr. Pepper, the constant criticism, Cade nipping at his heels. And we expect perfection out this guy every time on the floor, but he's been a true leader. I mean, he didn't give up in a tough place like Florida State. He didn't give up during the Wake Forest game. Hey, he went to toe-to-toe with Hartman. He didn't give up. So he didn't call quits. Yeah, he had a bad game against Syracuse, but at the end of the day, we was offline talking. All three of us was talking. Look at Texas A&M. They had players who were highly ranked, getting all this NIL money, and they smoking weed in the in the locker room. DJ's not doing that. His mom and dad went through a divorce, or he was having a hard time. DJ wasn't doing none of that. He came in and worked hard. And like I said, I've been trying to lose 35 pounds since 1997. So I still ain't got there. So the dedication that it takes for DJ to do what he did, he's definitely the offensive player of the year. And I think we're going to see some positive things out of him as the year goes along.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got so since Jordan mentioned Will Shipley, I'll say Davis Allen for offensive player of the year so far. I think Davis Allen has provided a spark to the Clemson offense. He's provided a big target for DJ so far this season. He has, really performed in a great way, and I think he has, he's done a lot for the Clemson offense. He's provided, kind of a safety blanket for DJ, if you will, and really been that reliable target for DJ that some of the Clemson quarterbacks have had in the past with some other guys, and I think that's what Davis Allen has done before. I think an honorable mention would be Davis Allen. Will Shipley was my number one because he's just a dynamic running back. He's gotten better in pass protection, which is not really his forte. But he's improved in it so much. And he's just a relentless running back. But I think Davis Allen has kind of been that versatile tight end that has really taken the Clemson offense to the next level. So I think Davis Allen is worth mentioning in that breath. Let's move on to the defensive most improved player this season. So the defensive most improved player this season, Jordan, who do you have for the defensive most improved player this season?
Yeah, this one was really difficult. This one was extremely difficult, but I kind of wanted to go a little bit outside of the box here.
Okay.
So I picked Jalen Phillips. And I think he's kind of not gotten a lot of attention, from Clemson fans, but I think he's been phenomenal for a lot of the year, and I thought he's played really, really well, in that safety position. I was thinking R.J. Mickens as well, but R.J. Mickens was really good last year too. So it was kind of hard. But I think Jalen Phillips, I think he's starting to. I think the light's starting to come on for him.
Absolutely.
Obviously he's a fourth year. Phillips is a fourth year guy, been in the program a while, and finally getting his opportunity. I think he's grown up a lot. So I had to go Phillips. And Hunter GoPro mentions Nate Wiggins. I'm sure that might be one of you guys'. But I went Phillips here. I've just been really impressed with how he's played, especially as of late.
DeAndre, who do you have for defensive most improved player so far this season?
KJ Henry, because he came out with with X-Man, and he was overlooked. Then Murray came in, and he was a big old monster as a freshman. And KJ Henry has came to strengthen our defense like you said, the leadership and consistency. So that was my big pick of the day right there, Murray. That's what I'm going with.
Okay. My defensive most improved. Uh, me, me and me and Jordan apparently think a lot alike. So
Did we both
I
pick Jalen?
I had Jalen Phillips as well
Oh no!
for our most improved player of the year. I think Jalen Phillips has been hands down the most improved player on the defensive side of the ball. But I could see Nate Wiggins as well. He's played really well this season. Um, but I had Jalen Phillips in it in the most improved player category for the defense. Just because, like, I mean, he's not only that, he's improved on his season from last year, but I think he's really gained some confidence. I think he's really kind of stepped into his own, especially like the Syracuse game. I think he had a really good game against
Yeah, he played
Syracuse.
really well.
He played really well against Syracuse, and that's kind of what kind of tipped, in my decision in his favor for the most improved player on the defense is really his game against Syracuse and how well he played in it. I was at the game just like you, Jordan. I was at the game this past weekend for Syracuse, and I remember seeing Jalen Phillips being in on a lot of plays this past weekend. So that kind of tipped my hand when it came to picking that. So that's why I picked Jalen Phillips. He just really stood out to me in the Syracuse game. I think he had a great game against Syracuse. So that's kind of why I picked him. So we'll move to offense. Offensive most improved player this far, so far this season. Offensive most improved player. DeAndre, who do you have for offensive most improved player?
Tate, the left guard.
Marcus Tate. That's a good
Marcus Tate. Okay. I like it. Marcus
Yeah.
Tate.
I mean, you looked at him last year, and I understand that he hasn't played the defensive line as good as Georgia, but you go back to the NC State game the year before, he was getting 8 alive over there. So now this year he looks really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I like that pick, DeAndre. That's a good one. That's a good one. I didn't go there, but I like that. Jordan, who do you have for offensive most improved player this far?
Well, and this is the player that I was, this is the award I was saving DJ for. It's got to be DJ. And I mean, we've already gone at lengths about how much he's improved and how well he's played this year.
Yeah.
And if someone had already said DJ, I might have said Jake Brenningstool. That might have been
Brenningstool. Okay,
so
I
just wanted to throw that one out there, but
That's
DJ's
a
my
good
pick.
one. That's a good honorable mention. Is Jake Brenningstool? That's a good honorable mention. Unfortunately, like before, me and you think way too alike, Jordan.
I should have
Because
just waited.
I had DJU as my most improved offensive player of the year. But I like that you mentioned Jake Brenningstool. But DJ is my most improved offensive player of the year. Just the fact that, like, I mean, the way that he has handled himself in the offseason, the way that he has, taken on all the criticism, he has committed himself to getting better. He committed himself to losing the weight, becoming a better runner, becoming a better leader in the locker room. So I think for all of those reasons, DJ deserves the offensive most improved player so far this season. And I know, look, everybody will look at the Syracuse game and they will say, "Hey, he did not perform well. He kind of let the pressure get to him." But I will say that as much as the pressure may have got to him, that he handled it in the right way, and I think he will improve. So I think DJ is the best option for Clemson going forward. I think Dabo Swinney has proven that he will make the right decision, especially when it comes to the quarterback position. I think us as Clemson fans have to trust in Dabo Swinney when it comes to deciding the quarterback position, and when it comes to those sort of decisions. I think he's proven the fact that he's all about winning football games, regardless of what has to happen. Dabo Swinney has proven that he'll make the right decision when the time comes, time and time again. So, but I think DJ is super mature. I think he's a guy that's super reflective on kind of his skills and his performance, and I trust Dabo Swinney. I trust DJ, and I think they will get the job done. That's just my opinion. But let's move on. More midseason awards to give out. We got Defensive Coach of the Year awards to give out. So, Defensive Coach of the Year so far this season. Jordan, who do you have for Defensive Coach of the Year so far this season?
This one was kind of tough.
Yeah. There's a couple options here. There's quite a few options.
There's a few options, but yeah. I think I'm going to go with Mike Reed. And I think it's because he had the most to work. The most improvement had to be made on his with his position group. I think he's done a great job of getting these guys ready. They had they got baptized by fire against Wake Forest, but I think since then they've done a really good job responding, and I think that's a testament to what Mike Reed has done, especially with the freshman guys. Toriano Pride, Jaden Lucas. Nate Wiggins has really come into his own in the last few weeks. And Sheridan Jones has played. We haven't mentioned him, but Sheridan Jones played really well on Saturday. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. So that's kind of a thing.
But he's played great when he's been in the rotation. He's played really well.
So it has to go to Mike Reed, and I know this isn't a defensive thing, but since he's taken over the special teams, the special teams unit has been really, really good. For the most part, obviously there's been some hiccups. But they've they're one of the highest rated special teams units in the country right now overall, and I think that's a testament to Mike Reed. I think they've done Clemson's done more damage in the return game. They blocked kicks, and so they've covered really well. They haven't given up big returns, so. I know that's not a defensive thing, but I think Mike Reed is going to
coordinator though. So that speaks to his coaching ability.
So I gave it to Mike Reed's my pick.
DeAndre, who do you have for Defensive Coach of the Year so far?
I would say the linebackers coach.
West.
I can't remember. West is coach of the linebackers. Yeah, I would go with the linebackers.
Yeah, he's the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach.
Yeah. Wes is the linebackers coach.
Yeah, I would go with that because I think it was you replace all those what Skowski and Spector did as far as experience, and they played pretty well. I mean, they had 27 missed tackles, but hey, that happens. You subject to a bad game.
All right. That makes sense. So again, Jordan, I hate how much we think alike.
We should have just went over this before the show.
We should have. We should have went over this before the
But it's
show.
great though. But
I had Mike Reed, but I have a backup. Okay,
Okay.
I have another coach here that I will mention. So since you have mentioned Mike Reed, that's where I wouldn't. That's where I was going to go first, but I will go Nick Eason for my honorable mention. Reason being, okay, yeah, most people would be like, oh, anybody could coach this defensive front, right? Anybody could coach Miles Murphy. Anybody could coach Ruka Rororo. Anybody could coach Brian Brzee. Anybody can coach XT. Anybody could coach those guys, right? But at the end of the day, it's not easy to coach those egos, right? Because at the end of the day, when you are that good as a player, there are egos at play. There are certain things that you have to balance as a coach. There's certain things that you have to do as a coach to get the most out of those type of players. And I think he's done a great job. I've looked at him in interviews. He's got amazing energy. I mean, he lives and dies by Clemson. He is Clemson through and through. He's got amazing energy, and I think he truly cares about his players. From what I've seen in his interviews, so I think he's done a great job in managing that room and getting them to buy in, not only into the Clemson way, the all in, but also playing for each other as well. I think those dudes truly care about each other, and I think it shows. Most recently with KJ Henry being on the sideline at the Syracuse game, being in the offensive huddle, and really projecting that sort of leadership. And I think that's bred with the coaching staff. And I think that starts with Nick Eason, and I think it starts with those coaches. For those reasons, I think I will take Nick Eason for defensive coach of the year, because it's not easy to walk into that room and really command those guys' respect, right? Those guys were already established, and I think he walked in the room and really commanded their respect, and I think there's something to be said about that. So for those reasons, I'll pick Nick Eason. Offensive coach of the year. DeAndre, who do you have for offensive coach of the year?
Is it Austin, the offensive line coach? I'll go with him.
Thomas Austin.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Thomas Austin. Okay. Any reason that you picked Thomas Austin?
The offensive line played a lot better this year. I mean, I know last year guy got moved to what he doing something upstairs now. I don't know what exactly he's doing, or he retired.
Yeah, he's retired, but he's taking an off-field analyst.
Off the field position, but he's retired. Jordan, who do you have for offensive coach of the year?
Well, since the Thomas Austin was my pick as well, but
yeah, that was one of my picks. But there's a lot of picks on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, there are a couple.
Like there's a few unit on the offensive side of the ball that you could go with. Thomas Austin was a candidate for me. That's not who I picked. But who do you got?
Well, something tells me that the one I'm about to say is the person you picked, but I'm going to go tight ends coordinator Kyle Richardson.
No. All right. Yeah. Why did you pick Kyle Richardson?
What can I mean? what can I say? I mean, just the way that the blossoming of the tight ends within the offense, as not only as being good blockers, but as being true threats in the receiving game has been huge. And just I think you're seeing the Clemson offense in general as their passing game and the route trees are a little bit different. They're introducing some newer concepts, stuff that they didn't really run a lot of last year, and I think part of that has to do with Kyle Richardson stepping in that role. So it's kind of that was my backup pick, and I'm sure that was your number one.
That was my number one. But fortunately for me, I had 3 picks for offensive coach of the year so far. I had Kyle Richardson, I had Thomas Austin, but I also had another coach that I have in mind. Kyle Richardson for all the reasons that you mentioned. The creativity in the offense, if you will. I really like some of the creativity that we've seen. I really like the incorporation of the tight ends that we've seen, and I think that's to Kyle Richardson's credit. I also like the offensive play, the offensive line play that DeAndre mentioned from Thomas Austin, but I will go with a different coach. I will go with CJ Spiller, the running backs coach, because I think there's something to be said with managing the egos that go into the running back position at Clemson. Okay. You have, you have Will Shipley, you have Phil Maffa, you have
Kobe Pace.
Kobe Pace when he's healthy, right? He hasn't been healthy a lot this season, but that's a 3-headed monster, and it's not easy to manage. Okay, so I will say there's something to say for how to manage those running backs when it comes to the rotation and how they get carries and how they get on the field and all of those kind of things, right? So I think CJ Spiller has handled it flawlessly this season. I think he's kept every single running back engaged so far this season. Um, and as much as Kobe Pace has been injured, I think he's still been engaged. And I think we will see more of Kobe Pace when it comes to the latter part of this season. At least I hope we see him more. And I think there's something to be said about the culture that CJ Spiller has set in that running back room to where all of those guys are rooting for each other. At least that's what it seems when they talk to the media. They're really rooting for each other. They're really just kind of just looking for their opportunities and making the most of their opportunities when they get the chance to get on the field. And I think that speaks to the coach in that room and kind of the culture that he's setting inside of that room. So and that's not an easy thing to do with the running backs that Clemson has recruited. You see Bowman that left Clemson very quickly. And I don't think he really fit the culture in Clemson. So I think it's I think there's something to be said for CJ Spiller and the way that he has managed that running back room and really kept those guys as a team and really rooting for each other on the sideline when maybe they're not in the game, but they're still engaged at the same time. So that's what I would say for Offensive Coach of the Year.
I like it.
All right. Last but not least, we will get into our final midseason award, and we will go Comeback Player of the Year so far. Comeback Player of the Year so far for Clemson. Jordan, who do you have for Comeback Player of the Year? And if you take my pick,
I probably will.
I'm going to kick you off the stream. If you no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I won't kick you off the stream if you take my pick, but you're probably going to take my pick. So go ahead.
There's really only like two options.
Yeah,
if you think about it,
there's only two options.
So there's a chance maybe I didn't pick yours, but mine was Brian Bresee. I just, considering the adversity that he's gone through this season, dating back to last season, obviously tearing his ACL in the fourth game of the season, not being able to play,
absolutely,
working, going through rehab, working his way back, fighting back to finally play again, and then obviously dealing with the loss of his sister, earlier in the year. And just all the health problems that he's had and all the adversity he's faced and the way he's come back and played. I think it's I had to go with Brian Bresee. And maybe I said two options, but technically I guess there's three, but I've already used one of them. And so I had two. So Brian Bresee is my pick.
You did not pick mine.
Okay, that's good.
You did not pick mine, so thank you for that. DeAndre, who do you have for Comeback Player of the Year?
DJ.
So far for Clemson.
DJ.
Okay, why DJ?
I mean, the man put in work. I mean, Breezy, that's a great story, and I do agree. But I mean, even with Breezy coming off an injury, everybody expected for him to come back to the same dominant form. We weren't expecting DJ to come back and do what he did. So even if he didn't perform good against Syracuse, DJ's obvious pick to me. Yeah, Breezy's a great story, but we all knew that he was going to pay. He was going to come back the same dominant way. We didn't know how DJ was going to come back, so I'll go with DJ.
Absolutely, that's a great pick. I like both of your picks, but I did not go with either of your picks. I went with XT. I went with XT for Player of the Year. I love XT, man. Like, XT is one of my favorite players that has ever played at Clemson. XT has been through a lot at Clemson. He's been through some mental health struggles. He's been through some physical struggles when it comes to injuries. And I just love seeing XT come out there and play. One of my favorite things was seeing his first game this season and coming out with multiple sacks. So XT was the Comeback Player of the Year for me, just because he has battled so much off the field. And I just love seeing him get out there and really get after it in a Clemson uniform. And I know how much he loves Clemson. I know how much that he really cherishes his time on the field, because he understands how quickly it can be taken from him. And for me, XT is the epitome of Clemson. It's really just just adversity and just overcoming adversity and really, really just coming into your own as a person, as a human being, as a man. And I think Xavier Thomas has really done all of those things. And I don't think he was that way when he came into Clemson, but I think he has grown into an absolute amazing human being. And I think he's better for it. And I hope he has an amazing NFL career. So for those reasons, my comeback player of the year is Xavier Thomas, just because he's one of my favorite Clemson players that I have ever watched don the Clemson uniform. So, yeah.
Great pick. We covered all, and that was a good one because we
all picked different ones, right? But they were all three like
really good candidates.
The only ones that you could pick, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all picked the different ones, but there were only three options, and we all picked the three, right?
Yep.
So, I love that we did that. For once, Jordan, we disagree.
Yeah. Right.
So last but certainly not least, we will go into the MVP, the most valuable player for Clemson football so far this season. Jordan, who do you have for the MVP so far this season?
This is the one that I still haven't completely decided on, because I didn't know if it's so hard.
Yeah, it's tough.
I mean,
it's tough because there's so many options for the MVP pick, and I know DeAndre, me, and you, we have probably 3 to 4 names in our head right now. Even coming in to this stream, I have 3 or 4 names in my head that I could pick for MVP. I don't know which one I'm gonna pick, which is why it's great that I'm letting you guys go first. It's the benefit of me letting you guys go first.
Well, I try to go through this entire thing without a repeat, but this is one of those times. I mean, the overall MVP. I want to say DJ, but if we're just talking like the most impactful player, on the team, I got to go with Will Shipley, plus I already picked him as my. It wouldn't make sense to have Will Shipley be my offensive MVP, and then I also had Barrett Carter and KJ Henry as my defensive MVPs, but not pick one of those as the overall MVP. So I'm going to go Shipley here, but I also wanted to pick DJ, but DJ's kind of a special. It's kind of a special case because.
So you're going Will Shipley.
Yeah,
I got it. Awesome. DeAndre, who do you have for the MVP of Clemson so far this season?
Will Putnam.
Will Putnam?
Yep.
What? The kicker?
No,
the center.
Putnam, the center. What are you talking about?
Oh, sorry. The center?
Well, speaking of kickers, BT Potter is not a bad.
BT Potter would not be a bad pick.
BT Potter he's been the most arguably.
But Will Putnam? Okay.
Yes.
All right, DeAndre. Okay. So
That's
Will Putnam is the MVP of Clemson's season so far.
Okay.
Please tell me why.
Okay. He had to move over to center.
Okay.
Right guard. Remember last year I said this couldn't get the hike off. He gets a good push. How many times have we had to call his name compared to last year? What the hell is he doing over there? So yes, we'll put
not at all.
Yeah,
we haven't called his name at all.
Yeah, he had to get that push up the middle where we run a lot of our zone reads through. So yes, Will Putnam will be my MVP. So hey man, center been a problem for the last couple of years at Clemson. we finally got somebody that can hike a ball.
I like it. He went with the big boys up front, Jordan. DeAndre went with the big boys up front.
Yeah,
Jordan.
that was not.
I
the
did
name
not see that coming. That's crazy.
Y'all see what Paul said?
What?
Here, Billy Paul, right there.
DeAndre been playing attention.
No, he's been playing chess.
Hey.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So
yeah, I don't. Okay. I like that pick though. I like that pick.
I don't hate it. He's played really well, and
giving the big boys up
one of the most
front
important positions.
Some credit.
Yeah.
I like it.
If I was going to pick anyone off the offensive line, I would have picked Jordan McFadden, but
I'm trying to pick somebody you guys haven't picked for MVP. Give me a minute. Hold on. I gotta think about this.
You might as well.
He just ain't gonna top that
one. I'm trying to top DeAndre right now.
So y'all just trying to get crazy with it?
No. I'm not trying to get crazy. I'm trying to pick somebody that you guys haven't picked. Let's see.
Mine would say Allen.
No, I'm not going to say Allen. You know what? I'm going to go defense. I'm going to go defensive side of the ball. I'm going to go Trenton Simpson.
Okay. Leading the team in tackles.
I'm going to go Trenton Simpson.
We haven't even really talked about him much, but
we haven't talked a lot about Trenton Simpson. And there's a reason that I'm going Trenton Simpson because this dude is maybe one of the most versatile players on the Clemson defense. He's absolutely I'm going Trenton Simpson. I'm going Trenton Simpson for MVP.
Hey, I don't hate it. And I mean, he's had to play a new position. I mean, he moved over from Sam to Will, and it's been an adjustment, and he's done a really good job.
Wiggins, I see Wiggins in the chat, but I'm going Trenton Simpson. I think Trenton Simpson is an absolute beast. But I do see Wiggins in the chat. Our offensive line is such a great candidate because they are so improved. Simpson's in stud. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going Trenton Simpson. That's my pick. Yeah, Trenton Simpson. He's an absolute beast. All right. Let's see. What do we got in the chat? Hey,
Man, I love you all, man.
we got some BT Potter love in the chat. We got some Jake Brennistool love in the chat. Jordan is an MVP on the O line.
Oh no, he's talking about he's not talking about me. He's talking about Jordan McFadden.
Yeah. Jordan McFadden. Simpson can go.
I mean, it can't go wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a beast. Absolutely.
Jake Brenningstool. Yeah, that's
yeah.
Brenningstool's. Yeah, he's been phenomenal.
Look at Huffer Billy Paul shouting out to the panel. I love y'all know so much of the details. Y'all watch the right stuff in these games. Absolutely. Thanks, Huffer Billy Paul.
We appreciate that, man.
We do our best, okay? A lot of people criticize us, say we overreact and all those sorts of things. But we appreciate that comment, Huffer Billy Paul.
Yeah.
Because we do truly watch the games. I know everybody here on this panel, we truly do love Clemson football. We truly have watched Clemson football our entire lives, regardless of how long we've been alive. Doesn't really matter. But, we do, we live, eat, and breathe Clemson football. So, thanks for that, Huffer Billy Paul. I appreciate that comment because I know I do the best I can, and so does everybody else on this panel. I want to see us with some Irish tail next week. Absolutely.
That's
we
right.
will. We will. No doubt, Hunter Gofro.
That'll be a fun pregame show.
Oh, I can't wait for that pregame show. I can't wait. I cannot wait for that pregame show. But you guys, if you have not hit the like button, please hit the like button. It'll help us out on these live shows. But we got through. Appreciate you guys getting through the mid-season awards with me. DeAndre, I don't know if you got to leave anytime soon. Are you good to go for the rest of the show, or?
Yeah, I don't know how Mark gonna edit this because we got 2 hours in.
Yeah, I feel bad for Mark.
Look, that's a Mark problem. Okay, that's not a Mark problem. Okay?
I got a few more minutes.
Okay, I'll just make it sure. But so we still got some more of the show left. We're gonna go into the outlook on the Clemson season. Looking forward. So we talked about the season so far. We talked about Clemson being 8-0. We talked about we having 3 top 25 wins. We talked about having the number 3
strength
of record in the country.
Yeah.
And now we're going to look at the schedule going forward. So we got Notre Dame coming up, and then we have Louisville, Miami, and then South Carolina to close out the season. So with that said, with those games coming up, how do you guys see Clemson's season going so far, or going forward? Do you think Clemson wins out? Do you think Clemson gets to the ACC championship? Do you think Clemson gets to the college football playoff? How do you see Clemson Clemson season going as we progress into championship season, as Dabo calls it?
Yeah, I think Clemson has pretty much they've played the meat of their schedule. This is the kind of the I mean, there's some games that can give you some issues. Obviously, going to Notre Dame is never easy. Obviously, they have not played up to their talent level this season, but they still have going to be a tough matchup that Clemson is going to have to be prepared for. But I think the expectation for the rest of the schedule is, I mean, obviously, is to win out. I mean, I don't. You're not going to be an underdog in any of those games. I think Clemson is already in early. I think 10-point favorite against Notre Dame. So
I was 8.5 when I looked.
it might have come down to 8.5. So that's a
Regardless,
game.
Clemson's a favorite, and pretty much every game that they'll play this season from now on.
So yeah, the expectation is should be to win out. I think this bye week is coming at a great time too, and really kind of get prepared for that second stretch or this final stretch. As long as they take care of business, I mean, they'll be in the ACC championship game. I think they officially clinched the ACC Atlantic Division when they if they beat Louisville on in a couple of weeks. They've pretty much all but wrapped it up. It would take a lot for it. It would take a lot So yeah, the expectation would be to win out. Probably playing North Carolina. They seem like to be in the driver's seat in the Coastal Division. So getting prepared for that game, that for that potential matchup, it will be interesting. They have the best offense in the conference, but also the worst defense. So they're a really intriguing team. But yeah, the expectation should be to win out, and if you win out, you're in the college football. As much criticism as Clemson has gotten this week and about how they've played and the schedule and all of that, none of it matters if you keep on winning. An undefeated Clemson isn't getting left out. So
absolutely, winning cures everything. And if Clemson wins out, we're obviously in the college football playoff. DeAndre, what do you think? What do you think about the Clemson season going forward with our next few games?
I did a couple shows with Jason Priester over the summer on Mark Channel, and Jason's the writer for Clemson. He pointed out that there were some issues with Louisville. Cunningham was saying, they got lucky that they got hurt. So I think that's one that Clemson's looking forward to. But also, from what I understand, Louisville has a pretty good defense this year. So that's going to be interesting. Miami, they're not what we thought they're going to be, but they do got a lot of 4-stars. And they got allegedly a good coaching staff, but I don't think it should be a problem. Notre Dame, it's going to be – I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be sort of like the NC State game, maybe 30-20, something like that. But Notre Dame has a lot of problems with their quarterback issue, so I like our chances. South Carolina, who's – I don't know how all of a sudden they got good, but – they're 5-2, and we'll see what happens with them.
I don't think they're that good.
Right.
But
Mark has
the teams
a guy,
they've beaten have not been.
Yeah. Far as Carolina, the thing about Carolina, they play Pitt this weekend. I know Pitt just lost to Louisville, but you got to be careful with Carolina because they'll give a lot of points. And Pitt is made to beat Carolina because they got a good running back. And not only that, they got a good running back. They have a couple rush ends that are pretty good. I think they have a pretty good defensive line. So I know a lot of people are picking North Carolina, but you got to think also North Carolina got to play Pitt left, and I think they have Duke. They beat Duke, but they got Wake Forest and NC State left.
Yep.
I know NC State's not what they are, So you also might need to take a look at and see what Duke is going to do. Because Duke has already played Carolina. They lost by, I think, on the last second touchdown. So they have a very favorable schedule coming up too. And I don't know how Georgia Tech is still alive, but for some reason they truly really call themselves the Roaches instead of the Yellow Jackets because they keep hanging around. But so far as that go, I think Clemson is going to be okay. Going down the stretch, we just got to see some more improvement out of DJ. See if he got his head on straight and see what we can do. Versus that, this honestly, we all probably thought this was going to be the harder part of the schedule with Notre Dame and Miami. I don't think nobody saw the collapse of these two teams come down to what they are. But, we get the last 3 games at home and down in Death Valley. We get Notre Dame on the road coming out the bye, and they got a hard game versus Syracuse. So hopefully we catch them kind of like on a down note, and we go in there and win the game. And I, I don't see any problems so far for Clemson. Just get healthy. Hopefully, our offensive line, our DBs continue to keep progressing, and DJ keeps progressing. But you're simply Moffett, and hopefully Page will be back coming down. But I act like I don't have to go to work in the morning, so let me get off here. I enjoyed talking to y'all. Well, yeah, I got to be at work at 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh man, yeah.
All right, brother. Yeah, you get off of here and you get some sleep, and we'll take the rest of it for you.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, DeAndre. We appreciate you, man.
All right, bro.
Later, DeAndre.
All right, Jordan. Let's talk about the games going forward. We got Notre Dame coming up. We got a couple weeks to get ready for Notre Dame. They got a first-year head coach that has been struggling. And I don't think Clemson will have too much of problems with Notre Dame. That's just my opinion. Like I said, I don't think DJ will light it up like he did his freshman year. Just because I don't think our receiving core is quite where it was when he stepped in for Trevor Lawrence because of the COVID protocol. But I think his head is where it needs to be. I think obviously me and you were at the game against Syracuse. It was not a good game. So let me ask you this. DJ against Syracuse. What was the problem with DJ versus Syracuse? Because early on, you kind of saw the ball kind of fluttering out of his hand and not being exactly, a tight spiral or anything like that. So, I know you were in the stadium and so was I. So, what was the issue with DJ? Was it just an off week for him, or what was the deal with DJ? What do you think was going on with DJ this past weekend?
I mean, well, it was it certainly was an off day, but
yeah,
I think it was a lot of things. I think you have to, I think Syracuse did a good job of confusing him. I think he pressed a little bit, and I think he wanted to take some shots, and there's been talks about how Syracuse may have stepped on his hand and in the pile, and that could have affected how he was releasing the football. But he made some poor decisions regardless, and I think he had some issues kind of layering the football on some of his throws. and that led to a couple of those interceptions. And I think but I think most of it was just him pressing. I think he just tried to do too much.
Yeah.
And especially, obviously the interceptions, but even the fumble, probably should have just handed it off. They read it well, and he didn't do a good job of securing the ball, and it just popped out of his hands as he was going down, and that's a 14-point swing right there. So just
that 14-point swing was what's huge in that game.
Yeah.
I don't know if many people realize how big that swing was. If you weren't in that stadium, that 14-point swing really kind of quieted the crowd for a little bit.
It was.
We were looking to go up, 14-7 at that point. And DJ kind of pulled that ball. The ball popped out, and then suddenly, Syracuse was up 14-7, and we were looking to be up 14-7. So, I think that was that. I don't think it can be understated how much that kind of swung the momentum of that game. But to Clemson's point, we found a way to win the game. So I think there's something to be said there. And I also think there's something to be said about Dabo Swinney and his ability to really feel the pulse of his team and understand what's needed. And Cade Klubnik did not come in and throw the ball around the yard. He did not come in, and he wasn't the savior, but he kind of was a game manager and handed the ball off when he needed to and kind of managed the game as best he could and led a comeback. So I think that's important, right? And I think how DJ responded is important as well. And I think that speaks to how Clemson will move going forward. I think DJ was a leader in that situation, and I think most college football quarterbacks would not have been able to respond in quite the mature way that DJ did. So I think that gives me some hope for how Clemson will respond as a team because of how DJ responded in that situation. What do you think?
Yeah, well, you pretty much covered it. They've I think they've done a good job of. I think Dabo's culture really shined through in that game. Just DJ, the way DJ responded to being benched, he handled it with a lot of maturity. He was coaching up Cade on the sidelines, cheering for him, really encouraging him, getting involved in the when he was, when Cade would come on the sideline and talk to Dabo and talk to, and talk over the headset to Streeter. DJ was really involved in all of that, telling Cade what he's seeing. So I thought that was that's a really good sign going forward. And obviously it's good to know that Clemson has that in its back pocket. If the time ever came where they needed to make a switch, that they could. But obviously is the right guy. That was really good to see.
Yeah, Huffer Billy Paul gets in and says our coaches have to recognize faster when the D is capitalizing on DJ's weaknesses and mix in Cade. Yeah.
Kind of. I don't know if the answer was to. I don't know if the answer was to mix in Cade necessarily. I think it's just They just needed to. They should have done more to settle DJ down. They asked him to do. He was making mistakes, and they asked him. They kept asking him to do stuff. Throw down the field, and when they didn't necessarily have to, just giving him implementing the game plan they did for Cade, that would have been a good idea, and just allowing DJ to hand the ball off, settle it down, and he not have to process as much either way. It is what it is.
Scott Moss gets in, says so many similarities in last week's game and the 2018 game against Syracuse. Yeah.
Yep.
So with that said, I don't know who let the quarterback for Appalachian State come to our game.
Chase Bryce.
Yeah. I'm not going to name him because the quarterback. No, I'm just kidding. Chase Bryce. I don't know who let Chase Bryce come to our game, but that was a bad mistake. Look, he brought his backup quarterback Juju into the game, and that's what happened. Okay, we're just going to blame it on Chase Bryce. We're going to say he brought his backup quarterback Juju, and that's why K. Klubnik had to finish the game for DJ.
Or you could look at it as, or you could look at it as Chase being there allowed K to lead the comeback.
Hey, okay. All right,
in the games where it was very similar because Chase Bryce didn't.
It was, wasn't it?
Like when Chase Bryce came in against Syracuse, he didn't do a whole lot. He handed the ball off for most of the game.
Yeah,
he had that key. He had that key 4th and 6 conversion. And
much like Cade's pass downfield where it got the not only the 2-point conversion, but where he got the PI downfield, where he threw that like beautiful pass downfield that got the PI. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Two-headed monster to force the other team to keep adjusting. Yeah. The big thing was the running game, right? Will Shipley and Phil Maffa had absolutely amazing games. We had almost 300 yards rushing. So that was kind of the story of the game. And shout out to the offensive line for that. Shout out to our running backs for that. I hated that read option play near the goal line on the fumble, scoop, and score. Just had the ball off to the 230. I agree. Just hand the ball off to the Phil Maffa. I tend to agree with that. But
it was a poor read by DJ.
It was not a good read by DJ. He should have handed the ball off, but it was what it was. We even scored the same amount of points. Yes, we did.
We scored 27 in this one, and
we did score the same amount of points. Oddly enough, Jordan, I don't know if you know this, but fun fact for the Clemson fans, I was at the Syracuse game last season in Syracuse, New York. And I was at this Syracuse game this past weekend in Clemson, South Carolina. So I have been to back-to-back Syracuse games, and they were both way too close for comfort. Maybe that's a sign to myself that I should stop going to Syracuse games. I don't know, but whatever. I'll have to decide that myself.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. Don't judge me. Okay, it's not my fault. Don't judge me.
I am blaming you partially.
Don't do it. Syracuse had that game won last week. Poor coaching calls them the game. Up 14. And Sean Tucker, Syracuse all ACC running back, gets 5 carries. That is on Dino Babers coaching. What do you think about that, Jordan?
I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, Dino Babers made some really, really questionable decisions. His clock management at the end of the game was really strange. Allowing all that time to run off the clock before calling the timeout. The most egregious is giving. I mean, Sean Tucker is an amazing running back, and
Sean Tucker is an amazing running back, and to only give him the ball 5 times, I can understand the Syracuse fans.
I'd be mad if I was.
No, I'd be pissed. Like if we lost the game and Will Shipley only ran the ball 5 times, and I'd be upset about that. But at the same time, I think Clemson. I think there is something to say that Clemson was trying to take Tucker away from Syracuse. So the fact that Schrader ran the ball 21 times, I don't think that was an accident. I think it was because of the type of defense that Clemson was playing.
Clemson certainly sold. Yeah, they certainly sold out to make sure Tucker. They made sure Tucker wasn't going to be the one to beat them, and they did some stuff to. And Dino even said as much that Clemson's defense did some stuff to make sure that Schrader, especially on the options and stuff, that Schrader would be the one to. They made sure the ball stayed in Schrader's hands a lot of the time. So.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Nonstop Sports Kids says, let's just say DJ was hot garbage versus Syracuse. Yeah. I mean,
I can't disagree. Yeah, he played poor.
He didn't play well. He didn't play well.
Bad. Yeah.
I've said all along DJ's job to lose.
Yeah,
it is DJ's job to lose, and I don't think he's lost it yet. So, Jamie Harper, it doesn't help. Okay. Huffer Billy Paul, don't run the QB much or use RPO plays when DJ is in. Use DJ like a traditional pocket passer QB. Use Cade for RPO game.
But the problem is our offense is so RPO heavy. There's not a whole lot of.
The thing about Clemson's offense is it is what it is, right? Regardless of the QB, Clemson is going to run basically their offense regardless. And I think that's why you see DJ run the ball so much is because that's just kind of built into what Clemson's offense is. I think one of the big things that you saw when Cade came in was the tempo kind of increased, right?
Yeah.
Like we went a lot faster when Cade came in, and I think that's the biggest difference when it comes to DJ and Cade running the offense. So, I don't think that's going to change really. He sure tried to do that last week. Syracuse did absolutely nothing in the second half. Well, Syracuse did absolutely nothing in the second half, but I think that had a lot to do with our defense, right? We really shut Syracuse offensive attack down in the second half. I think our defense really stood up to the challenge, and part of that was leadership on the defensive side of the ball, most namely KJ Henry, that was in offensive huddles. He was, yelling at people on the sideline. He was, being a absolute 100% leader. So I think you got to give some credit to some of the senior guys in the Clemson defense when it comes to that. Not just that Syracuse. I don't think Syracuse just aborted what was working for them. I think Clemson defense caused some of that. So, yeah. Oh, DJ isn't trash. He had one bad game. Yes, absolutely. I don't think DJ is trash, but it's funny how quickly the tides can turn against a player when it comes to college football. Part of it is fans are so passionate when it comes to college football, but at the end of the day, I don't think DJ is trash by any stretch of the imagination. So. The design QB runs look smooth with Cade. Yeah, I mean that's because he's just a more athletic individual. I think Cade isn't ready yet. What do you think, Jordan? You think Cade isn't ready yet?
We don't know.
Yeah. So, funny story. I'll tell you this while we're here. But the guy behind me, we had like mid-level seats at Clemson, and the guy behind me, as soon as Cade came in, he's like, "Cade isn't the guy. He doesn't need to be out there." Yada yada yada. And by the end, he was like cheering for Cade.
Yeah, that's
But
typically
par for the course, right?
Yeah.
But he was literally saying Cade isn't the guy. Cade isn't ready. I don't know if Cade is or isn't ready. I don't think we've seen enough of Cade to know. But I think that to say that Cade isn't ready. We haven't seen him in that situation, right? In order for us to know whether he's ready or not. So that's just my opinion. 5 carries for Sean Tucker, Syracuse ACC, all ACC running back. That was coaching and play calling. Yeah, absolutely. I think part of that was the Clemson defensive scheme, and I think part of that was the Syracuse coaching staff not getting Sean Tucker the ball like they needed to. So Clemson needs more reps to be ready. Okay. More reps how? We've had a lot of reps with a lot of good teams. So
I think that
a lot of good.
That it said Cade, not Clemson.
Oh, Cade. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm retarded. Thanks, Jordan.
All good.
Jamie Harper. I don't think rushing against Clemson would have won the game. Yeah, that's a good point. It might not have, and it probably wouldn't have, based on Clemson's track record so far. But Florida State did have a lot of success running the ball against Clemson. So I would at least tried a little more than 5 times if I was Syracuse.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah,
I would have tried more than 5 times.
Right. I would as well.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. I'm starting to feel it.
Yep. Yeah, let's get out of here, man. It's been almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
So
This is by far the longest show we've done.
The longest show we've done. We
Yeah.
appreciate you guys getting in the comment section. Thank you for getting all your chats in. Thanks for getting your comments in. But me and Jordan are over here dying. We're tired. I gotta work tomorrow. I'm sure Jordan has classes tomorrow. So
I do. I have to teach tomorrow as well. So that'll be fun.
Well, I have to teach tomorrow as well. So
we're gonna be in the same boat.
Yeah, we'll be on the same page tomorrow.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for getting in. We appreciate it. We will be back again next week with a pregame show for the Notre Dame game. And we will be back with another live reaction show directly after the Notre Dame game. So thank you guys for getting in. Another great Clemson football show. This is your mid-season show. We tried to make it super interesting for you guys with some of our mid-season picks for the awards. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And we will see you next week with another live show. Thank you guys for joining us.
Later, guys.
Later.